There are home features that peak on install day and slowly disappoint you. Matte black hardware that shows every fingerprint by week 2, shiny lacquered brass that looks artificial after a year, trend driven floors that date themselves before the paint dried, surfaces that chip, fade, scratch, and never recover. And then there's a completely different category 10 materials that do not peak on install day. They are at their worst on install day, but every year after that they get better. This is not an opinion. Each of these 10 materials has a specific physical or chemical process that improves it over time. I will show you what that process looks like, why it happens, and what each one will look like at year 1, year 3, and year 10. If you're building, renovating, or furnishing a home right now, pay attention to this list because the decision you make today determines whether your home will look more beautiful in 10 years or less. Number 10. Unlacquered Brass. Most people who buy unlacquered brass fixtures are slightly worried. The showroom sample looks too shiny, almost fake, and they are told that it will tarnish. That word, tarnish, it makes it sound like a problem, but it's not a problem. That is the point. Lacquered brass, the version you find on most cheap fixtures, has a clear coat applied to it. That coat prevents any change. The fixture looks the same at year 1 as it did in the showroom, which means it also looks the same at year 5, fake, frozen, lifeless. Unlacquered brass has no coating. It oxidizes directly from the oils in your hands, the moisture in the air, the light it is exposed to. Over the first 6 months, it darkens. By year 1, it has a warm honey tone that no fixture can replicate. By year 3, it has developed depth, color variation across the surface that reads like something old and chosen, not bought last Tuesday. Here are some examples of the grit and polish that it can develop throughout the years. Year 1, warm honey. Year 3, deep amber in the recesses and bright where it's handled the most. The fixture you cannot buy is the one that has been in your home for 3 years. That is the one people photograph. This is for you if you want hardware that gets more beautiful every decade. Avoid it if you need a look that is perfectly uniform. Unlacquered brass rewards people that can let go of control. Number 9. Terracotta Tiles. Terracotta has a reputation problem. People think it became a trend back in the 1990s and that it came back. They are not wrong. The terracotta has been the flooring material of southern Europe for 500 years. The reason it keeps coming back is that it's one of the only flooring materials that genuinely improves with every decade of use. New terracotta is pleasant, but aged terracotta, sealed slowly over the years, walked on, waxed seasonally, develops a depth that no factory finish can apply. The clay absorbs wax and oil into its surface layer. The color darkens and richens from the inside. By year 10, the floor in a well kept terracotta kitchen looks more like furniture than flooring. Its documented lifespan is 50 to 100 years. Marble or porcelain chip and crack at failure points that cannot be repaired invisibly. Terracotta, when a tile cracks, it can be replaced with a tile that will age to match the rest of the tiles within 2 years. The floor heals itself back into the composition. This is for you if you want flooring that becomes more valuable looking every year. Avoid it if you want a surface that looks identical in 10 years to how it looks when it was installed. Number 8. Linen. Linen has a physical property that almost no other upholstery material has. Its fibers are hollow. When heat and moisture are applied, which happens every time you sit on a linen sofa or wash a bed linen, those fibers relax. The fiber in the fabric becomes measurably softer with every wash, not slightly, noticeably. Neolinen feels structured, almost stiff. At 6 months, it's noticeably more relaxed. At year two, it has a drape and softness that makes it feel like something you inherited rather than something you ordered. This is why it's the only upholstery material commonly described as becoming heirloom. The 2026 textile market is calling this the year linen went mainstream. Not because linen changed, because consumers finally understood what they were buying. They were not buying a fabric, they were buying something that will feel better in 2 years than it does today. This is for you if you are willing to iron or live with relaxed drape and you want upholstery that becomes softer every year. Avoid it if you need a fabric that resists spills without treatment or you want a surface that looks crisp and formal at all times. Number 7, oiled oak floors. When you choose flooring, you are choosing a finish system, not just wood species. Most people can choose polyurethane, a standard finish. It creates a hard, sealed surface on the top of the wood, and it looks clean and bright on install day, and then it wears off unevenly, and the worn patches cannot be repaired without sanding the entire floor. Oiled oak works differently. The oil penetrates the wood fibers directly. There is no surface coating to crack or peel. When small area wears, a high traffic zone by the door, the patch in the front kitchen sink, you apply a small amount of oil to that area and buff in it. The repair is invisible. The floor absorbs it as it was never touched. More importantly, the floor develops character with use. The grain opens slightly with age. The color deepens, particularly in direct sunlight zones. A scratch on a polyurethane floor is a wound. A scratch on an oil floor is a mark of use that blends into the surface within months. The floor looks more considerate at year 5 than at year 1. A 2022 NWFA survey found that 72% of homeowners preferred oil finished floors for authenticity. Homes with oil finished floors spend up to 40% less on maintenance over 10 years. The floor that costs more upfront to oil costs less to own. This is for you if you want a floor that improves with honest use and that can be maintained without a professional refining. Avoid it if you want a surface that looks perfect and requires zero maintenance. Number 6, Zellige tiles. Zellige comes from Morocco. It has been made by the same hand pressing process for 500 years. Each tile is fired individually in small kilns. The surface is not perfectly flat. The glaze is not perfectly uniform. But when you see a sheet of Zellige in a showroom, it can look rough and imperfect. That is because you are looking at it wrong. Zellige is a tile that is designed to be read as a field, not as individual units. When it's installed, the tonal variation, the slight color shifts from tile to tile. It creates a depth that no uniformly glazed tile can replicate. And over time, the surface deepens further. The glaze variations become richer. Areas that are exposed to steam or moisture develop a subtle difference in tone from areas that are not. The tile starts to tell a story of the room it lives in. The 2026 tile trend reports are consistent on this. Zillage is described as a material with actual history, variation, and depth that cannot be manufactured. It's valued precisely because it does not look uniform. This is for you if you value material honesty and handcrafted imperfection, and you want a surface that reads differently every year. Avoid it if you need a perfectly uniform groove lines and flat surfaces. Number 5, solid wood furniture. There's a quiet crisis in furniture right now. Most furniture sold in 2026 is made of particle board or MDF, engineered wood composites held together with formaldehyde based resins. It looks identical to solid wood in the showroom, but it doesn't age identically. Particle board lasts 5 to 10 years under normal household conditions. The surface cannot be sanded, repaired, or finished. When it fails at a corner, at a hinge, at a surface chip, the failure is permanent. It becomes waste. Solid wood lasts 20 to 50 years with minimal care. It develops a patina, a slight deepening of the color. The surface glows from handling, visible grain character that becomes more pronounced with age. When it is scratched or dented, it can be easily sanded and re-oiled. It comes back. The furniture your grandmother had was solid wood. The reason it still exists is because solid wood does not die when you stop paying attention to it. This is for you if you are furnishing slowly and want pieces that will outlast the house they are in. Avoid it if you need furniture that matches perfectly across coordinated sets. Solid wood pieces develop different patinas based on their precision and use. Number 4, handmade ceramics. Mass produced glaze is sealed perfectly and never changes. A ceramic thrown on wheel and fired on small kilns has a surface that remains alive and receptive. Over time, it darkens at use points. A tea bowl or oil vase absorbs trace elements, marking the object by its history. This functional beauty is what Japanese call yo no bi. This is for you if you want objects that accumulate meaning from daily use. Avoid it if you need everything to be uniform and dishwasher safe. Number 3, lime plaster. Lime plaster has been used for 2000 years because it structurally improves with age. Through carbonation, the plaster slowly absorbs carbon dioxide from the air and turns back into limestone. The wall becomes harder and more breathable over time. Usually, the surface deepens and troll marks catch light differently as it settles, giving it a timeless quality. This is for you if you want walls that strengthen and deepen in character over the decades. Avoid it if you want perfectly flat, bright white walls. Number 2, full grain leather. Most leather furniture is bonded leather, which peels within 5 years. Full grain leather is the intact top layer of the hide. It is the only grade that develops a genuine long lasting patina. By absorbing oils from the skin, it darkens at contact points. A full grain leather sofa looks slightly lived in at year 2 and at year 10, it looked like a custom heirloom that you couldn't buy new. This is for you if you want furniture that builds character over the years, and avoid it if you cannot tolerate scuffs. Number 1. Travertine. Travertine is a porous limestone. These pores allow stone to breathe, absorb minerals, and age gracefully. Its warm amber veins deepen, developing a natural low sheen from touch. The qualities that make people nervous are its greatest asset. At year 10, the stone settles into a rich texture. It carries the visible evidence of your life. This is for you if you want a living stone island or countertop, and avoid it if you require a sterile, perfectly uniform finish. These materials do not ask to be preserved, they ask to be used. The beauty is in their use. That is the only design investment that does not depreciate. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you so much and bye.